So once you have them from Blackboard, we'll start with the cookie sales. So today's agenda is basically to look at advanced select statements. So we've done select, we've said select this from this where, and I did an order by also with you. Right now we have order by, which is an advanced feature, but you already know about it. And then there is group by and having, which you haven't done at all. So something new to do in select statements. So they're called advanced select statements because there is more to it. Plus, we'll also do some inbuilt functions, common ones, max, min, average, and some string functions also. So you've seen a couple of year functions. Anytime the date, you have a date variable, you can use year on it, month on it, and so on. We'll look at some string functions. Again, I can't do all of them, and I won't, but I'll do some so that you have an idea. Okay. So this is what I'm planning on for today. Okay. So we'll start with the cookies one was. So open up that file. And once I complete it, I also put it back on Blackboard for your information. So the midterm solution, as I was mentioning, is on Blackboard. So I have already posted it on Blackboard. So students did a couple of different ways the same solution was given. So I kind of added it to my solution also. So you can look at it, and if there are any questions, you can always come back and ask. So I'll close this and I'll open up the file that I've given you. So it's February 23rd, and we'll start with cookie sales on Blackboard. And I'll save it as so that okay, so what I'll start doing now, since you have kind of done the first half of the semester and you know about, hopefully you know about how to create databases, create tables, talk about best fit fields, unsigned values, not nulls, defaults, unique. You've kind of seen all this. I'll start giving you scripts that have all this already in them, and we'll do the extra stuff. Okay, because you've kind of practiced it. By midterm, you've practiced this a few times. Most of you were almost perfect in the table. I had given you the field names, I had given you the types, but some of you still forgot to add what I said. I said fields, these fields were unsigned, they cannot be null, the default values are this, and they were still missing. So don't be careless. I'm sure you can do it. Just read the instructions carefully because everything has marks, right? And if I'm giving you half the stuff, of course, whatever I'm giving you, you won't get marks if you just copy and paste that. You have to add things to it. So again, everything, all rubric, everything is on Blackboard. Please go through your, I know I just posted it yesterday night. So take your time. And if you want to talk to me today or Monday, you're most welcome to come and talk to me about it. Okay, just make an appointment if you like, but I'm usually here Mondays and Fridays before and after your class. Okay, so this as it says, to create a database and a table therein to store sales made by Girl Scouts, to retrieve information using advanced select statements and inbuilt functions in MySQL. So again, inbuilt functions, I'm saying in MySQL because we are using the MySQL relational database. Maybe they are just different in Oracle or DB2. When I say different, doesn't mean, oh, they're completely different. They may have a different name. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe the same name or sometimes extra parameters. But once you get an idea that inbuilt functions do exist, then over the board, you will find that SQL is kind of very standard in giving all these functions in all relational databases. You may have extra, but you will not have less than them. Because again, Oracle is a paid one, DB2 is a paid one, so they'll definitely give you a bigger API, a bigger library to work with. That's the advantage. But MySQL is no less. I mean, there is enough. Many people use, small businesses still use MySQL because it's free, right? And they cannot afford to pay for Oracle or DB2. Though there is not much support with it. I mean, you have to know what you're doing, but still it's free, and many small businesses still use it. So it's not that you're learning something that you won't be able to use anywhere and everywhere. So the other comments are kind of standard now. And again, if you copy and paste my comments, please be kind enough to change at least what does the table store, for example. And if you're not doing retrieving information and you're updating and deleting records, add that. Right? So you can use mine, but again, you'll always have to think, oh, what does she need and what do I need to remove? So all this is simple. What this table has is basically an ID, and notice how I've kept ID in all caps, just to tell you that usually these small abbreviations like ID or not, like they're called ID in real world also. So you needn't use small ID. Sometimes you will see that capitalized ID is also used. It's not a rule, Just it can be. It's an int auto increment field. Or something I must bring to your notice, only integer fields can be auto increment. Character fields cannot be auto increment, right? So a couple of you have made title ID, which was character auto increment out of the blue. You can't do that. Auto increment means it will automatically increment 1, 2, 3, 4. These are integer values. So any form of integer will do. Integers, small int, big int, whatever will do. And usually we don't say unsigned increment, assuming that you won't touch it. You let the system take care, and the system automatically starts with 1, 2, and only uses positive values. If you really want to say, oh, you know what? You are allowed to put auto increment values yourself. You can add it yourself, and you'll say, I don't want anybody to add a -1. You can always go ahead and say this is an unsigned field. IDs are never negative, right? But if you leave a field which is auto increment alone, when I say leave it alone, you let the system generate values for it, then you don't have to put unsigned, because it automatically starts with 1 and increments it automatically. Though you can start it with any positive number. I haven't tried it starting with a negative number, so I don't know. So unsigned is just kind of being overcautious. But again, there is nothing bad in it because IDs are never negative. They shouldn't be negative. Your student numbers can never be negative, for example. Or customer IDs cannot be negative, or employee IDs cannot be negative. The rest of the field, there is a first name, which is varchar 20. There is a sales data, which again I've gone decimal 4,2. These are just cookie sales, so 2 places before, decimal 2 after. So $99.99 is the maximum that can go. I've said unsigned with it because sales can never be negative. And then the sale date is a date variable. For your information, there is a date time type also, where you can have the date and the time also. And instead of putting the word primary key here, instead of designating it here, you can always put primary key separately as a separate statement. You can do that. You'll see that this will be handy when a table has a composite primary key. Till now, you've always had a field, but there can always be a combination of fields which make a primary key. We will encounter it next on Friday. So that's why I've started putting it in a separate line. Also, a couple of you do it. You don't have to say not null with ID. A primary key automatically is not null and unique. So you don't have to say not null here. You don't have to. Is it wrong? No, but it is an overkill. I mean, it's automatically if you say that ID is a primary key, by default, it is not null and unique. So you don't have to bother about it. Right? Then there are some inserts. I've copied this from somewhere, so I kind of didn't change it. Notice how the programmer has written one insert statement for each record that is being added. And also notice that I haven't added ID because ID was an auto increment field. I didn't add it. I mean, the programmer had it. I removed it. I thought, keep away from it. Don't bother to populate auto increment fields. And please don't put numeric fields in quotes. Again, MySQL works. Bless you. MySQL works. It doesn't care. A default value of 0, you can put the 0 in quotes, but my requirement is don't do it because I don't want you to get into a habit which is not universal, right? So do things right, and because bad habits are hard to die, sorry, right? If you have a bad habit, it's very difficult to get away from it. But if you do programming right way, you'll never get into all these problems. And then some values here. So Lindsay has made a sales of $32.02 on 2007 of 12th of March and so on. So here is some data. I just copied and pasted, but I did remove the auto increment field. Again, I do mention you can always insert it, but that's the whole purpose of auto increment field. Leave it alone. And we do this insert statement so many times, and some of you were struggling with in the exam when the number of fields were less than all the fields. If the number of fields are less, just write an insert statement, put the fields you want to insert, and then give their values. That's all, right? And we've been doing it from day one. I've shown you so many type of insert statements right in week 1. But I saw many of you struggling with that insert statement. Some of you added default null with it. Not a bad idea, but if I say that's the values, why write an insert statement for all of them? Just insert with the fields that are required and insert the values that are given. Let it take its default values. Why are you saying default null? You're not even saying default, you're saying default null. So you're making it null. So don't do that. It's not required. Just say the fields that are being added and the values that are being added. So here is the data, and then I say select. I just kind of do a select statement, which I forgot to So a select statement shows all the records. It doesn't show the table, it shows the records of the table. Uh-oh. And of course, if you don't mention all the fields, then the fields that you're saying, right? And again, the describe statement and select statement are two different statements. The select statement shows you the records, the data. The describe statement shows you the structure of the table. Okay, so some of you, I think, were confused. So anytime I've said describe, you give me both statements, describe and select everywhere, just to be on the safe side. You don't have to. If I say describe, I need describe. If I say select, I need select, right? Okay, so whenever I alter a table, I do describe so that I see, oh, has the structure altered? Whenever I want to see the data, I say select. So there are two different statements. And again, copying and pasting is kind of getting everywhere. I don't even ask for show me the tables, show me, and I have so many extra statements just because you've copied and pasted my script. Copy, but use your brains when you copy. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You're thinking, oh, let's be safe. Yeah, exactly. I get it. Therefore, you say, oh, she's saying describe, let me be safe. Let me put both of them. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm marking extra. Then I'm saying, oh, did I ask for describe or did I ask for select? And keep in mind, I have a solution that can be automated to mark your solution. So if you have anything extra that can come up as wrong, you see what I mean? So therefore I say always number your solutions. I want to see, and a couple of you, not some, just a couple. Nothing is marked. I have no clue which answer belongs to which question. So I'm guessing. So, I know, but I'm still guessing. So if you miss something, your numbering is out. So just follow instructions. And how hard is it to follow instructions? I'm saying just give me all the comments, put your question, so that I know this is the answer for this question. That's what I'm asking. So I'm not making any guesses. But if you add extra and my marking is automated, then it will come up with wrong answers. And therefore I say don't change anything. Don't change my database names. Don't change my table names. Just follow the instructions so that my marking becomes easy. Okay, that's the main aim. Your class is small, so I don't mind it. It's just 25 students. It takes me just a day to mark it. But when I have 60 students in my class, I don't want to keep doing this. So that's what is important. I've given you answers for 2 of them, just because we've done order by first. So if you want to show all the results and you want to sort it by first name, all you do is order by first name. We've seen order by before. This is an advanced select statement, though we did it. I've also already discussed when you order by more than one fields, the first field becomes your major field and the second field becomes your minor field. So it will be first sorted on first name, and then inside first name, it will be on sale date. So let's run, and then the rest of the questions we'll do together. Okay. So there I've just put questions, but these ones you had done. So run this script. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes and it should run. And I want to show you the output. And this is the output I'm talking about. So notice how the output is showing you sorting by first name first. So all first names, Nicole, Lindsay, and they are in descending order, not in ascending. So I made it descending, therefore they're coming this way. And inside them, inside the names, the sales are now by, I see them in ascending order. So this is how double ordering works. So you could have any number of fields, field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, any number of fields. All that happens is, that's how it works, not only in MySQL, in every language that you learn. Anytime you do sorting in more than one fields, the first one is the major one or the first one, then inside that, the second one, inside that, the third one, and so on and so forth. That's how it works, okay? So that's sorting by more than one fields, and sorting by one field is just sorting. So I think we sorted by name here. So notice how here sales, it doesn't matter how sales are coming. They're just random, however they were picked up. But all Ashleys, all Britneys, all Lindsays, all Nichols are coming together because I sorted on first name. Just normal, ascending was the default. And that's the double. And again, we had talked about this, but just a little refresher of that you can sort on more than one. There are 2 sorting keys available, descending and ascending is the default. So you don't have to say ascending if you don't want to. That's the default. You can sort by ascending or descending on different fields in the same statement. Okay, it doesn't say, oh, you can do that in this particular one. So that's your first advanced statement, which you've seen. Okay, now let's go and start doing a little more. The next question says, show me the total sales. I just want to find out what were the total sales made by the Girl Scouts. That's it. I want to total up everything, all the sales values. So you have to think, what do I want to total up? Of course, you won't total up names, right? You will total up the field that makes sense. And that field that makes sense is the sales value. Okay, so let's write a select statement for this. So we'll say select. Now, when you're summing up something, there is an inbuilt function for you. You don't have to do any coding yourself. The function is called sum. Right? The function is called sum. There is a sum function, inbuilt function. Now, which field do you want to sum up? We want to sum up the sales field. So sum is a function. It is taking an argument from you. Argument means what do you want to work on, right? So if I say add two numbers, you will say which two numbers? So those two numbers are your arguments. So what am I working on? I'm working on the sales field. What do you want to do with the sales field? I want to sum them up, right? So this is called a function. The function name is sum. And notice how it has a parameter list in round brackets. It's called a parameter list. There could be more than one. I only have one argument. And that argument is the name of the field which I want to sum. So I want to sum up this field. Now I want to show you something and then we will change it. From which table? From your table called table cookie sales. Now, how many values will this sum function return logically if you think about it? If you add up a few values, how many results do you get? One. If I say add all these values, the result is always one. So you will only see one value output with this sum, right? So there is no sense of ordering it because there is only one value, right? So let's try what happens. Let's see what does it do. It gives you a value. 385.25, so 25 cents, and it has summed up all the sales value. But do you look at the heading of this column? Doesn't make any sense to me. Some sales, it's just the function you used. So our aim would be to give it a name. Yes, Brandon? Exactly. So our aim would be to give it a proper name. So these are called display names. Again, they're not changing anything in your table. You're not altering the table, guys. These are called display names. You just want it for displaying purposes. So you can use the word as if you like or not use it. And then we'll say something like total sales. Put a $sign to make it more sense, and there it is. Now what will happen? And again, please make a practice of putting some blanks in your code. I hope the student who doesn't is getting my hint, right? Because if you put everything together, it's so untidy to read. In programming, always see that the code is readable. You should be able to read it. When you're working with a group of programmers, everybody reads each other's code. So it should be easy to read. It's not so strict in MySQL, but when you start doing PHP or you are doing PHP and so on, you have to indent your code, and it's just for readability. And some languages, for example, Python, I don't know whether you study it. Python is a language in which indentation is a rule. You have to indent your code. Here it's more of a preference, and preference is personal. But again, programmers will always keep it in mind, oh, my code will be read by somebody else. So it's always written in a way that is readable. But in Python, for example, it is a rule. So when you're using functions or when you're kind of saying as or using quotes or whatever, please see that you put blanks in between to make it more readable at least. Now, the only thing I think is not allowed is, at least in MySQL, because we encountered this before, let's check it. I think after the function name, you can't leave a blank. Oh, I have an error anyway. Right. So now be careful. In MySQL, you can't leave a blank after the name of the function. Now, not all languages are hard and fast about it. They're not. But it is here because I think I encountered it in one of the classes before. So that's how I know. I wouldn't have even thought of it. I usually don't because it doesn't make sense, but it's not even allowed. Okay. So because I think the name becomes some blank, that's how it is taking it, and therefore it can't find it. It's sensitive with that blank. So now what will happen is, now if I run it, please notice the change in the name of the field. So this is what I mean by saying display names. This is what I mean by saying that the column names should be this and this, for example. Now, sometimes you may not even change it, but it automatically kind of becomes a rule when you're using functions, because otherwise the column name makes no sense at all. Some sales was not making any sense at all. You say, oh, no, I understand what it means. But keep in mind, you're not the only one to see it. When this goes into a real application and you're showing the result to a common user, you can't expect the common user to understand that sum sales means you're using the function sum. And maybe they don't even know what sum is. So total sales makes sense to a layman, but sum sales only makes sense to programmers. So always see that the display names are readable and easily understood. And that's what I mean by display names. So if in your comment you see display name missing, that's what I mean. And that doesn't mean I'm altering the table. Some of you think, oh, I have to alter the table. I have to change the name of the table. No, I only want the display names. This is just displaying purposes. So that's your sum function. Now let's look at the next one. So these are the total sales made by everybody. Right? Now look at the next one. It says total sales by each Girl Scout and order by total sales highest to lowest. Now logically think what you should be doing. If I say, oh, here are the names of some girls, and I want you to find out how much sales did Nicole make, Brittany make, and so on. Logically, what would you do? Like a common man, what would you do? What would be your logic? How would you go around about it? So if I had all these names on small pieces of paper here, and I say, oh, now I want to find out all sales made by Nicole, Brittany, Ashley, and so on. How would you go about it? Then I'll change it into coding. Let's get ideas. You're an intelligent bunch of guys. What would you do? How would you go about it?
So all the names first, get the total based on the names.
Andre is saying call the names and get the total. So basically he's saying call the names and get the total means he's trying to group all Nicoles together, all Britneys together, all Ashleys together. He's trying to group it, right? And you know what? I'm going to give Andrew bonus marks. He's only guy's answer. So there you are. Maybe now you answer. No, you are going to get it. So he's grouping. So if I could group all the names together, now you say, what if two people are both called Ashley? Yeah, we haven't gone into that here at least. I'm saying that everybody has a unique name, but then there are other ways of doing it. Then I won't use names. I'll use some Scout ID or something, which will be unique. But here I'm assuming names are unique. So if I could group them together, and once I group them, then I say, now sum up this group, now sum up this group, and now sum up this group, it would make sense, right? So let's try grouping. Is grouping available? So let's pick this up and see what do I need to change, right? Now, so there is more to do. If there is more to do, I need some statement. So now I'm going to add a group by. Normal English word, group by, right? Now, how do you want to group by? The name, right? And the name of the person's field name was first name. So now what have you said? You've said, oh, I want to group by names, and for every such group, I want to sum it up. And that will make sense. Logically, that's what I'm saying. But now, okay, so it will sum up. Let's try it. Let's see what is happening. And then we can kind of, you can kind of tell me, oh, what am I missing? Okay, so here is the result. I have some data, but I have no clue about what. I have no clue which data belongs to which scout. I don't know if the 96 is Ashley or Brittany. I have no clue. So what do you think I should be doing? I should be displaying the name of the person also. So what do? Just add it here. Right, just add it here. Now, if you would like to call it first name or name, just name. I put it in quotes. The word as is optional. The quotes are also optional if you only have one word, like name is a word. But I just always put it in quotes, then you don't have to bother about it. You don't have to learn two rules because this will always work. Now see what is happening. It is saying that the first name field will be picked up and all first names that are together will be one group. I will show that first name and I'll show the sum of the sales for that group. Right? And again, total sales is good enough. It's a good enough heading. But I also said order by total sales highest to lowest. So let's order it by. Now, what is the field I want to order by? It's not first name. I don't want to order it by name. I want to order it by the total sales. So I want to use the second field. Now that second field doesn't have a name per se in the table, but it has a name here. It has a name called sum total. So there are a few ways you can do it. You can write it like this. That's one way of writing it. And it will work. So you're saying pick up this field and use it here because there is no other way. It doesn't have a name as per se. It does. I'll tell you how else you can do it. Let's try this one first. Now it's making sense. So Lindsay has made a total sales of $81.08, Ashley, Nicole, and Brittany. And they're going by ascending order. I said highest to lowest. So what should I add? Descending. That's all I have to do. Right? Now, just so that you know, there's nothing wrong in this at all. I've just used sum sales field, which was called sum sales here, to do it. Some people prefer this way, and I'm just going to write it for you because it's not a big deal at all, and you should know about it. You can use the position if you like. So second means what? 2 means what? 2 means the second field or field number 2 in the list. So this is your list. This is your first name, is your first field, and this is your second field. So you can go by the second field also. You can go by position. And this position is not in the table or anywhere. This position is right here. So it's not difficult to kind of make a connection, right? So now it's the same thing. Now it will still sum up by the second field. If you write 1 here, what will happen? You could have written first name. If you write 1 here, it will sort by first name. If you write 2 here, it will sort it by, sorry, not sort, order it by second name. Let's try it. Oops, let's try that. We should have the same answer, of course. There. Oh, I forgot my, no, I did a descending. Oh, this is descending. Before we were seeing ascending. Therefore, it was $81 first. I've changed it to descending. Same answer. And now, I think there is a third way. I'll try it. My SQL will tell me if I can do it or not. Usually, there is also this way you can do it. Though my only thing is because it's a double name. If it was a single name, like one field, I could have, I'm almost positive. I think this will give me an error. If it is a bigger name, bigger means it's more than 1 words. Let's try it. I don't see a syntax error, but I doubt. Oh, no. Why is it again coming in ascending order? Oh, not in any order at all. Okay. Okay, so it's not ordering at all. So this is not working. There's no syntax error, but logically it is not working. It's not, notice there is no ordering. But I'm almost positive, and bear with me, please. Okay, please bear with me for a minute. If it is a single word, I think it works. When I say single word, that means there is no blank in it, okay? I could be wrong. But I have a feeling that single word names could be used in. Nope, it's not working. Okay, so the names don't work. I'll have to find out. It does work in some, so I'll take that out. But definitely these two are working. In both, you should have the same answer. Oops. In both of them, you should have the same answer. The only difference is in one. I don't know. I still think there is a way of doing it. But anyway, I'll double check it in the break. And in both of that, you should get the same answer. And it is the same answer. So it's up to you. If you want to go by order by the position of the field, sure. You go 1, 2, 3, whatever. If you want to go by the name of a computed field, these are called computed fields. You're doing a computation. It's not an original field. You're doing some math on it. You're computing something. Then you can go by the name itself. And as I said, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll look it up and let you know. Okay. I thought you could use the name also if it was single word. Okay. So that's it. That's another one. So what have you learned here? This important one. This is very important, very handy and very important. We'll learn a few more things. Don't worry. There are a few more things to go. Now, this one is an easy one. It says, show me what's the maximum sale. Just show me what the maximum sale is. So this isn't so tough if you kind of think of it. You'll use the max function. You will use the sales field. And you will use the from and the name of the table. The maximum sale made, just the maximum sale. Okay, let's see if this works. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but we will double check. So it says the maximum sale was $43.21, which kind of sounds right. Because the numbers were less than. Now you'll say, who made it? So let's see who made it. 43.21 it is saying. There it is. So here we see that Brittany made it, right? Brittany made this sale. You'll say, what happens if more than 2 people have the same max? That's not a big thing. I'm just asking what is the maximum value. I'm not saying who made it or whatever, or how many people made it. We'll talk about that too. Now, if you say, can you show me the name of it? Let me see if I can do that for you. And if not, then we'll reason it out. So you'll say, oh, I just need the first name. Can't you add first name to it? Okay, let's add the first name to it. Who made it? Right? Let's see if we get Brittany. And so somebody made it. We have no idea, but we want to find out who. But the answer is wrong. Brittany didn't make, like it says Lindsay, but we just checked. Now let me tell you what has happened, and you have to be aware of this. All of these functions, sum, max, min, return a single value. There is one value with it, right? Now, if you would like to group them, then you have that option which you have to say, oh, group it and then do it. Now in max, when you just say show me a value, it just kind of goes through the table. It just has it picks up the sales column. It looks it through, finds the maximum value and gives it to you. Job done. That's all it does. Just adding the field first name in it tells it no, whether pick up the first name of this record in which you found the maximum. So what did it do? It just picked up the first name of the record. The first record, you change it from Lindsay to Anju, your name, it will just show that first name. That's all it does. You'll say, but I want to do it. I want to find out. We will talk about it, right? We will come to it. But here it won't. It won't do it that easy. It won't work that easy. You'll say, can I do a group by and see if it works? If who made the maximum, let's try that now. And again, I'll show you if it works or not. So this is not the right answer. Just putting first name with it will not work. Let's see. We just learned the group by. And this is just so that you can play with it, okay? I'm saying, okay, I want to show you, I want to see the first name and I want to see the max sale in that group. Now it is making more sense, right? You're saying group them by their names and pick up the name and the max sale from that, right? So let's see if we can do that. And logically, it makes sense. And that's how it will work. But my question was not that. My question was the maximum sale. Who made the maximum sale? This one is not giving that answer. You'll say, oh, I can read from it. I'll put it in order and whoever comes first will be the first person. Yeah, that's what you can do. You can order it by and then order by whoever is standing at the first position descending. You'll say, oh, that person made the maximum sale. But what if the first two made the maximum sale? You'll say, oh, shall I only show the first record, the second record, the third record? I don't know. So let's try that. But this cannot be, this is not working. This is not what it is doing. If I only say, show me the maximum sale, then the answer is only this. Who made it? I don't know. So we'll talk about a little more when you do a little more at the end of the script. I'll show you how to do it. At this point of time, it's a little more complicated. Let's do a little more things and then come and talk about it. So I will do it for you. I will do it for you. Okay. But if I'm only asking the maximum sale, there it is. That's how I get the maximum sale. I cannot get the person's name. I cannot. Because there is no relationship. Max is looking at the whole table and that's all it does. Looks at the column and says that's the max. It cannot relate it to the name unless you say group by, which you did. But then in group by, everybody's name is coming up. So that's how you do the max. Okay. So if there is a max, there is a min. So let's put that. Change the name of the function. If there is a max, there is a min, there is an average. Try that. Change the names. But I will show you the answer. I will. Because you should know how to do it. Here. So there are max, min, average functions that are available. There are more. We'll do more. But again, I'm saying I can't show you everything and I won't. I don't have time. But now you know that if these functions are available, are other functions also available. Right? So the min will show you the minimum sales. Whoever, again, not who made it, just the minimum value. And these are also called group functions for your information because they're working on a group. So somebody did a 0 sales. Somebody in the table has a 0 sales. That's coming up as minimum. And then the average will do the average. It will take up everybody and it will show the result. Now, what do you think you can do to improve that answer? Do you see how many decimal places? Now it's an average sale. We know that average sales should only show us 2 places after decimal, but it's a function. It added up everything. It found the average. Average can have more. I mean, it's just a mathematical thing, But if you would like to show an answer, again, only for display purposes, this is what you can do. Oh, and you know what? And what am I missing? I'm missing my good names. So let's do the good names. Oops, caps lock is on. So let's give some names. So we'll call it maximum sale here. We'll call it the minimum sale here. You can put as if you like. And anytime you use a computed column, anything that you're doing as calculations, please ensure that it has a proper name. It goes by automatically by without saying. Again, you go and put a dollar sign with it. Nothing stops you, right? So maximum sale in dollars, because we want, I mean, remember in the table, it's just a number. You can't put dollar signs with number. There. Okay, and these are also called aggregate functions. If you look them up in the manual, they're also called aggregate because they're working on a group. It's an aggregate function, right? These all come under the category of aggregate functions. It's not tough. If you open up the manual, that's all you have to do. If you open up the manual and okay, oh, Firefox is installing something. That's why. All you have to do is you can say inbuilt functions if you like, and go MySQL. Of course, it will bring you to the reference manual. And you will see that there again, you have date and time, you have string, which we will do, you have numeric functions and operators. And here are the numeric functions, right? So we used max. No, I don't see it in this list. I see the random and round and so on. So it's not in this list. Arithmetic, mathematical functions. No, I don't see. Okay, so it should be a different category then. You just have to pick them up, that's all. Functions used, precision math, miscellaneous, aggregate, there they are. Right, so aggregate group by function descriptions. And there it is, max and min. Okay, so you can always go and find out as to what the function does. So you can click on it, for example. And here it is, it has given an, oh, distinct is also used. We'll talk about distinct also. So here it is saying, select the name, minimum, and it says expression, returns the maximum value of expression, may take a string argument. In such cases, it returns the maximum string value. So it can take a string value also. You can put strings in it. And of course, you can use it on a field, right? But that's all it says. You can't use it on numbers. You can't say find the max of 5, 2, 3. You can't do that. So you can only use it as it is given. But I'll show you what this distinct says. It's not a big deal. We'll come back to it now that we've seen it. Right, so that's how min works and that's how average works. Okay, now it says how many sales were made. Let's look at the next question. It says how many sales were made. So count will count. So I've said we'll use the count function, and I've also made a note for you. I've said count will not count the null value. So if you see null in a field, it will not count it. Okay, so how many sales were made? Which field do I have to count? Sales field, right? So you have to think of which field. So again, I'll take this. We'll put it here, and the name of the function is count. And of course, I won't say it count, I'll say total number of sales. So please keep in mind that your headings should be clear. So this is not an amount, it is the total number of sales. And that's all I'm saying. So it will count everything. Zeros are counted. I mean, of course, we can change it. And you see in the next question, I say number of total sales should be greater than 0. But here I simply say how many counts. But it will not count null values. Count will not count null values. That's a rule for count. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, so let's try it. So this is actually the total number of records, right? If there is no null, and I don't think there is. So however number you have, 28. So there should be 28 records here because I don't see a null anywhere. I do see zeros because I think this field was not null. It is anyway not null. So 28 records is what you have. And you can always find out how many records. You don't have to count it. Here they are. See, when you ran the script and I inserted records, your insert statement came up saying, or when you do a select, it said 28 rows. But you can always check your answer by going insert and run that insert, and it will tell you 28 records were inserted. Somewhere it will. But 28 is what it is because I see it. There it is. 28 rows returned. Anyway, when it gets too much, you can't even find what you're looking for. Okay, so that's what count does. So count is another function. Again, all it is doing is counting how many times. Now it says, oh, I want to count, but I only want to count where the number of sales are greater than 0. So all you do is this. Remember your where? And your sales value should be greater than 0. So you don't want to count values that in which the sales are 0. Just add a condition. So don't forget, whatever you've done, everything works. Select statement, and we are just doing more in it. So you can use your froms, wheres, all your conditions, everything that you've done till date, everything will work here. I'm just adding more. We are learning group by, we'll learn having, we are learning new functions. So now when you run this, we definitely have somebody, because remember minimum was coming as 0. So there is somebody with 0 sales. Select count sales. One. Oh, okay, what am I doing? There it is, 26. So 2 people, 2 records have 0 for sure. You can double check. Before the answer was 28 and now the answer is 26. So that means there are 2 records in which the sales value is 0. Okay, so you just add a condition. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number of no sales. That means no sales were made. No sales means 0. Right? So now what do? You take this and change your condition. And you say what? So the girl went out to sell cookies, but she couldn't sell anything. So that's no sales were made. I'm not saying undefined. I'm not saying it's not defined. I'm saying no sales were made. You couldn't make a sale. So that means the sales value is 0. So you just change your condition. You say my sales value is 0. Make sense? So, I mean, it's just normal. You can just use whatever you've done till now. Nothing stops you. Let's go ahead and do more. I have a long list. You can keep doing it forever. Nothing stops you. Okay. Now this is again easy. Sales greater than 0 made on this date. Okay. So sales greater than 0 made on this date. So what do? You add it. You add the condition. So you've done all this before. So and now. So sales greater than 0 made on this date. So total number on sales on, you can always add on March 12th. Again, this is all being done so that we'll have to change total number of sales of 0 sales, of no sales. Change your headings, please. Copy and paste, but change your headings. These are no sales. These are sales on March 12th. Now what do? Add a condition. So you are saying the sales should be greater than 0 and the date should be 2007 March 12th. So don't forget, dates are not text data, please. They are not. Date is a different type of variable. So don't use them as text. Don't use likes with it. I've seen in the exam, like percentages and all that. It's not. So what do? We check it. So we are saying, and the sale date is, and the variable was called sale date, is equal to. Now, we've already done this. I'll again refresh your memories. Don't just say the date here. And again, if the format is not correct, it will just work, but it will ignore it. Now, for example, if you just change this for whatever reason, you change this to 30. Does the month 30 exist? No, but it was taken as a text. It will just kind of match it text by text and it doesn't find it and it will not work. Whereas if I cast it and try to use it, it will say, what are you trying to do? 30 is not a valid month at all. So that's why it is important that you don't use it as text. So remember what we did? We said, cast this into a date variable. So you'll say, I'm doing everything right, but don't know why it's not working. Be careful that your dates must also be right. You can't use a month that doesn't exist. You can't use a date which doesn't exist. Okay. So now it is saying everybody who made a sales, how many people made a sales on 12th of March is all it is asking, right? So let's try it. I don't know. I have no clue. I think everybody makes a sale on one date, and if there are 28 records, we can do a little bit of math. So 4 people made a sale on 12th of March. All you have to do is double check. And since I've already checked it, but you can always go back and check for everybody who's on 12th of March. And actually they are in sequence. They're in sequence when they were added. So there are 4 of them. Notice 12th March is 4 of them. So there is your result. Now, again, I must mention, you will not peek in the data to write a solution. You will first write the solution and then you will double check the answer. Because what happens is if you're looking at the data and you're saying, oh, she's asking 12th March or anything else, she's asking this, and you kind of think it the other way. If this is not present, if I'm saying if color is not yellow, you say, oh, color is red. That's not what I'm saying. If I'm saying color is not yellow, I want in your solution, color is not yellow. I don't want you to go and check. If it is not yellow, then it is red, and let's use red. So if in the exam, I'm saying that the title ID starts for PC, for computer book starts with PC, and for business with BU, that's the only information I've given you. I don't want you to go and peek in the table and say, oh, computer books are called comp books and business books are called biz type. No. So don't peek in the data. Think about it. There are millions of records. Why would you go and look in the data? Here you just go and look up because there are 10 records. You say, oh, it's easy. I can look it up. But think of it from a practical viewpoint. You have trillions of records in the table. Will you go and kind of look at them manually and write your answer? No. You will write your answer, get the solution, and then you can always make a check. And you don't keep checking it all the time. You always check it with test data, and then it automatically should work with huge data. Okay. So now there were 4 people, and that's what it said, and the answer is right. So please, again, keep in mind that it's just what is asked is how you answer, and use the right date when you're casting it. Okay. So don't forget your usuals, ands and ors and nots. Everything stays. Okay. Maximum sale by each Girl Scout ordered by maximum sale. Oh, we've done that already in the, didn't I do it? Max sale. Oh, no. Okay. I said I'll come back to it because I knew there was a question. Okay. Now this is not so tough. So max sale by each girl. So that means we have to group by girls. And then I have to find the maximum out of that group. Right? Logically think of it. If I say max sale by each girl, same concept. Group up the girls, and from each group find the max, find the max, find the max. So we need the group by functions. And we also, I haven't said give me the name, but it will make sense of asking the name. Okay, so let's do it. Let's select the first name and let's call it name. Let's select the max of the sale, which we know is the sales field, and call it maximum sale. You can say maximum sale value if you like. It's up to you, as long as it's correct grammatically and logically. Oh. Okay, so these are the 2 fields I'm interested in. I'm interested in the girl's name, and I'm interested in her maximum sale, her maximum. And max is a group function. It is an aggregate function. Remember, we found it under aggregate. It works with groups. Okay, now the table name, of course, doesn't change. But what is important now is try this without doing it. And you will see only 1 record will come up. Why? Because max returns you a single value. And it will just pick up the name of the first record. We've already tried this. But what we want to do is we want to group them up. And what do we want to group them up by? First name. And this field will usually be a unique field. For me, it is unique because I've taken that the names are, there are no duplicate names. So but it is unique, right? And then it said, did it say order? Yeah, it said order. So order by, again, we've already done, I thought we did it, right? Didn't we? I said order by 2 and so on. What was that then? Oh, that was sum of sales. Okay. That was sum of sales. Okay, order by 2 will do now. You know that you can use either the name or the field, whatever you like. I'm just saying order by 2 because it's less of typing, right? Anything it said about ascending or descending? No, it just says ordered. You can do whatever you like. You can say order by and leave it like this. You can say order by 2 descending. And now let's see. And we already know the answer for Brittany for sure. If Brittany is right, we are hoping the others are right. Brittany was $43.21. You can double check the other girls if you want, right? We know of Brittany. So go and check if Ashley's was this, Nichols was this, Lindsay was this. And nobody says you have to order by 2. As I said, you can even say order by first name or order by 1 if you like. It really depends upon what the question says. And you can use 1. You can use 1 even though first name is a logical field name. Like it exists. You can still say order by 1. That's allowed. Positions are allowed only here, only in your select statements. Otherwise, positions mean nothing in a database. We don't talk by positions in a table. We don't say column 1, column 2, column 3. Like we call them by names. But here you're just saying, oh, I want to order by this field. Okay. Second one, average sales by each girl with 2 places after decimal, order by first name. So here, remember how when I showed you the average, it was kind of untidy. But now I'll show you how to only show 2 places after decimal. So it's kind of the same thing. Pick this up, put it here, change the function, change the heading, and group by first name, and let's see what happens. And order by first name. Okay, here it is. So let me show you. You can say first name for sure. Nothing stops you. But you can also say, let me first make it fine and then I'll copy it. And you can also say order by 1 for your information. You can also say order by 1. You can do this. Nothing. It's perfectly fine. And maybe let me try because name is a single word, but it wasn't working that way. Anyway, let's see. Let's see what happens here and run it. Not any different from what we've done before. So should run. Now I said I only want to see 2 places after decimal. You'll say why? What's wrong in this answer? Just because money never comes in more than 2 places. Now you could round it if you like. There was a round function. You know how round works in math? If you have 5 or more, it will. So if I have, for example, rounding works this way in mathematics. So if I have an answer of 14.56 and I say round to 1 place, it will become 14.6. If it is 5 or more and you round it to 1 place of decimal, it will increase it. If it was less than 5, it will just be 14.5. This is rounding, right? So you could round it if you like. You could also truncate it. You could just break it. So I say truncate it. Truncate just removes it. So there is a truncate function, there is a round function, and there is also a cast function. We've done casting also. So you could choose whatever. Depends upon what is the question. Okay, I haven't mentioned anything. Anything, you can do anything. But what I have said is with 2 places after decimal, that's my only requirement. So you could do a round if you like. And you'll say, where do I find these functions? They're all available. You just have to look up how they work. So let's try this. So I'll show you a couple of ways. And then depending upon what the question is, we can do it either way. So I'm not sure what you would like. I'm just doing my casting. And remember the cast? We've done cast before, except that we haven't done it in this way. I'm saying cast it as a decimal number. And in that decimal number, you can say cast it with how many places after decimal. And the type of the original was 4,2. So the average cannot be more than 4,2. You know what I mean? Like the sales were 4,2. If you take average of some values, it always lies between that range. So I mean, you could have gone 3,2, but I said 4 is again to be on the safe side. So if you take some numbers and you take their average means mean, add them all up and divide by the total number, it can go beyond that range. So I've kept it at decimal 4,2. Now that comma 2 is important. That's what I'm interested in. 2 places after decimal. Right? So let's look, is it rounding? What is casting doing? So let's look at it. We have 13.7. Let's run both of them together. So it's gone now. 718. Okay, so we have a 718. Remember the first one, 718. Let's see what casting does. Does it round it or does it truncate it? I don't know. We'll double check. So 718 is the first one with Ashley. Okay, it's become a 7.2. So it's rounding it. Cast is automatically rounding it, though there is a round function also. There is a round function available. I'll show you how to do that too. If you were paying, not just kind of not necessarily paying attention, but when I was looking at the mathematical functions here, there was a round that I came across. Max min. Oh, we are still on aggregate. It was under mathematical function. String numeric. And I saw a round there. MNOPQR, round. There it is, round, rounds the argument. Let's see what does it do. There it is, round. It rounds it. Oh, you can also, there it is, round XD. Two comes in two versions. You can just say round, and you can say round X to D decimal places. The rounding algorithm depends on the data type of X. D defaults to 0 if not specified. D can be negative to cause D digits left of the decimal digit if X becomes 0. So here are some examples. So I could have used round. Notice what it is doing. Minus 123 goes to minus 1. If you don't give a second argument, 0 places after decimal. 1.58 goes to 2. It has rounded it. Okay. 1.58 becomes 2 because the rule is 5 or more go on the upper side. 1.58 becomes a 2. This becomes a minus 2 because there's a negative number. Now when you add another argument to it, notice I've said comma 1. It will become 1 place after decimal. So 1.298 becomes a 1.3. 0 places after decimal, no places after decimal. And the minus 1 also works. It says minus 1 does a job. D can be negative to cause D digits left of the decimal point of the value X to become 0. So there's a little bit more math into it. I'll have to read what it means, but they're doing some mathematical work here. It says if it is a negative value, it becomes X to become 0. Okay, I'll have to read off how the negative numbers are working. But there's a negative argument also that you can do. So when you need to use a function, look it up, see how it works, and make it. So I can use round instead of cast. I'll do it for you. There is a round here. There is a truncate also. Truncate will just break it. It will just break it. Okay, so let's try the round function. Not a big deal. You'll do a copy. So it has rounded in cast. So you can make a note for yourself if you want. Cast rounds it. We found out, right? We just found that out. Take the same code again. And instead of cast, use the round function. So I won't use, I'll say round. Round was taking 2 arguments. You can leave it as 1 argument, but I want 2 places after decimal, comma 2, 2 places after decimal, and rounds the number. We'll remove the word cast out of it. So the function cast definitely is casting it and rounding it. Round automatically is rounding it. This should also give you the same answer. And here, just so that you know, I'll kind of change it to 1 so that you see it will work. And let's try this now. We should have the same answer in both our cases. Okay, so 13.7 to 15.42, 13.7 to 15.42, 11.58, 14.38. Same answer. There's rounding. So now, which should I choose? Doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Choose whatever you feel more comfortable with. Because you had done cast before, I showed you cast, and then you can pick up round. And again, notice there was a minus, and I don't know how it works. Mathematically, I don't know what minus 2 means. I'll have to kind of read a little because in rounding, we've never talked, in math, we've never talked about rounding negative numbers. But anyway, okay, so that's rounding. So, and 1 is working instead of the first thing. Let me try this. I don't know why I have a feeling that, no, it's not. I'll play with it afterwards. So if you found round, I think there is a truncate also, and I can show you the difference between truncate, if there is one, I don't know. Truncate is a function that just truncates it, the English word truncate. If there is one, there will be T, MNOPQRST. There it is, truncate. So the difference between truncate and round, round is doing the mathematical rounding, 5 or more increase, truncate will just break it. That's how it works. So again, I didn't say anything, but with money, you usually round it. Bad for the bankers, good for us. But notice what truncate will do. Now truncate will truncate it. So this 13.71, remember it was 13.718. I just remember the first one. There it is. It's just truncated it, break it. So again, there is no end of functions you can do. You just have to kind of go and look for it. And how do I look if I don't know? Say something in English in Google and it will come up with something. I know of these because I do other languages. So I know that that's what they should be called. If you don't have an idea, just write it in English. Round a number to 2 decimal places in SQL and it will come up with something. Okay, so both ways are correct. Whatever makes you come, like whatever you like, it really doesn't matter. Okay, now the number of days, I'll give you a break at 12:15, don't worry. Number of days that a sale was done. So it says number of days that a sale was done. That means sale should be greater than 0. And how many days was it done when a sale was done? So what should you be doing? You have to count the number of days in which the number of sales is greater than 0. Okay, now let's write it again. Oh, number of days that a sale was done. Okay, so let's select. We have to use the count function. We have to count it on the sales field. We will give it a name. What do we call it? Sale days? I don't know. Of course, from the table. And you'll have to add a condition, and the condition is not tough at all. Sales were paid means sales value is greater than 0. There you are. It's a little complicated in the next one, so I'm going step by step, but anyway. Hopefully all the fields are right. Yeah, otherwise we'll come up with an error, but let's see. All I've used is sales, so shouldn't be wrong. So it will just count the number of days. Remember, we've done this 28, we found at 28 and 26. But I'm coming to the next question, which is a little more complicated, but based on this one. It says name of the girl and the number of days she made a sale. So now I want to go group wise. Okay, so let's go group wise now. So take it again. Put it here. Add the first name. So if the purpose here is, if you can't figure it out at one go step by step. Try one. If that works, then go the second route, right? It will help you when, especially when you are doing group by for the first time, because it's a little, it's not tough, it's just a little complicated, right? Keep in mind, all that the group by does is grouping. If you can think of it, it's all grouping. By whom? By whatever you say. So we'll have to group it. So let's group it. So for here, I won't have the right answer. Count is a single value. It will pick up the first name from the first record and give to me. But if I want to make it the right way, I'll have to add a group by. And please notice the position of group by. It comes after the where. If you change their positions of your verbs, of your clauses here, it will give you a syntax error. Okay, so it says select the name and how many days did the girl make a sale. So two of them should have one missing, right? Yes.
So when we're doing like order by, and we can either designate the name of the column to order it or the position of the column.
Yes.
Would the name of the column be more accurate or the order? Because if you technically you could change either or at any point, right?
No, but that if you use the number, then that number depends upon how you are writing your select statement. If you use your field name, then it really doesn't matter. Remember, field name in the table has no position as per se. That's why we use the field. The position is dependent here. The position is not linked to the table at all. It's through the select statement. That 2 is not the position of the second field. It is the position of the second field in your select statement.
Okay.
So if you change the field positions here in your select statement, then you have to change that number. If you use a name, then you never have to change. Right? So using, and if that name is just kind of odd means something like this, just use this, the whole thing. This is still better than using the position, because even if you change positions, this name still means this. Because this is count sales will always be count sales, right? Yeah. So what to use, there's no hard and fast rule about it. To me, names are more flexible, because unless you change the name, of course, but positions are not that, I mean, position is more constricted, right? But this position is not the position of the field in the table. This is the position of the field in the select statement, right? It didn't have a name. Some sales didn't have a name in the table at all. It was called some sales in my select statement. So you could just say order by some sales, or you could say order by 2 if some sales, or 1 or whatever, wherever it is occurring in your select statement. Okay. Otherwise, I would never go by positions. If like here, I would always say group by or order by first name. I wouldn't ever use positions because they're just not reliable, I would say. Right? So again, we'll do this thing and see. Let's see if we can use a position here. And again, this first name is the position in this select statement. I don't get a syntax error. Let's see if logically I get an answer. Okay, you can use the positions in group by and order by both. I've never tried it in group by, but order by is more common. So there it is. There is your answer. 7 4s are 28. 2 girls had zeros. Remember we said 2 girls are making 0 sales. They were 2 as answer. So 7 plus 7 plus 6 plus 6 is 26. Total records were 28. 2 were 0. So all answers are matching up with each other. That means the answers are okay. And of course they're okay. I've already tried this, right? So that is how you would do it. So you have to just keep in mind that you can do everything. Select from, where, group by, order by. Everything is possible. You can miss what you don't want. You can add what you want. Everything. I'm just adding new stuff to it. And I'll add one more before I finish, but we will come to that. Now look at the next question. It says, I want to know how many days did the girls go out? Like distinct days. Right? So did they go out on 1st of March, 2nd of March, 3rd of March, 4th of March, 5th of March, and so on. So what is my aim now? My aim is to go through the records, to pick up the dates, and only tell me how many days were distinct. How many days did they go out? So if I say show me all dates, count everything, so it will give me 28. If I say count days where sales were greater than 0, it will give me 26. But I want to know that maybe I made a 0 sales on Monday, but maybe Vivian made some sales. So I still want to count. So now the aim is I want to count distinct days. So if 12th March, 5 of us went out, I only want to count 12th March once. So any day a sale was made. If it was made on 11th of March, count it. 12th of March, count it. Maybe on 13th of March, none of us made any sales. So that day should not be counted or counting depending upon your where condition. Okay, so that's what distinct says. So distinct says the sale dates. I just want to know how many dates are distinct. So let's use, I'm going to copy just because it's easy, right? But the notice the difference I'll make. I'm going to say distinct with it. All I'm saying is don't repeat, don't count repetitions. That's what distinct is, right? So I'm saying take this, okay, so sale dates. Right? So each date will be counted once. Now, depends. If I'm not saying whether the sales are 0 or not, if I'm not making any condition, then you can remove the sales condition. If I say, no, I only want to count a day if a sale was made, then I'll put where sales was greater than 0. So the sale dates and depends on the question. If a sale was made, if the sales are greater than 0. So the question, it will depend upon what you want to do. So we'll say number of sales day. And the sale dates with sales made, which means sale should be greater than 0. If I don't say anything, then this condition will be absent. But then it is not a sale date actually. You know what I mean? Like if none of us were able to sell anything, none of the Girl Scouts were able to sell anything on March 1st, then it is not a sale date as per se. No sales were made. So it automatically means that this should be greater than 0. So I think there were how many days? 7. Because if Brittany has made sales on 7 days, that means the answer should be 7. There it is. Why? Because it has counted each day once only. That's what it does. So it picked up the sale date, all March 12th, 1 March 12th. All March 11th, 1 March 11th. All March 10th and so on. Now by chance, if nobody made a sale on March 12th, none of the girls made a sale, then this date will reduce by 1 because I said sales is greater than 0. So try doing that if you like. All 12th Marches if you want. Right now they are coming at 7 dates. All 12ths were together. So I'll kind of go 0 here. We'll come back. I'll make all my March 12s as 0. Just for the heck of it. You don't do it. Right? So all March 12s are 0 now. So this day should be reduced now. The only thing is I'll have to run the whole script because I made a change in my data. I just can't run that statement because inserts have changed. So run the whole script. And the last answer should be 6. It was 7, now it is 6. right? Because you said sales were greater than 0. If you didn't have that condition, then of course it will still be 7. There it is. So you can always double check your answers to see that things are working right. And that is the main aim, to check that their answers were right. What is the difference between count the dates where sales were made? Or maybe I changed it. Count the dates where sales were made. Count the total number of days maybe then? No, doesn't make sense. It's the same question. Sorry, same question, use of distinct. Maybe I'll just put this comment up. Therefore, maybe use of distinct to find that out is basically what I meant. There. So you've learned a new word, distinct. And it's the normal English word distinct. Different from each other, right? Only once. Unique, kind of. Count it only once. Okay. Now we'll take a break here because the last question is a little longer and will require more time. It will take around 15 minutes to understand what's going on. So as promised, I'll give you a break now, take a 20-minute break. We'll come back and then we'll look at this question singularly because it has a little bit of logic inside, right? And just so that you have the most recent copy, I'll put this also on Blackboard for you, okay? People, if you've missed something, you'll have it. Under the same umbrella where I had it before. So under weekly learning, whatever we've done till in class for now, and then when I complete it, I always put it back for your information, guys. I don't know how many of you know it, but everything we complete in class automatically goes back here. So I'll overwrite this file with the classwork that I'm doing with you. February 20, there it is. Okay, it's on Blackboard and we'll come back in 20 minutes and finish the rest.
And then you want to go.
Yeah, if you're not there, it's 5% every day now. So I'm taking that 10 minutes of marketing. Like, serious. So you have first day, yeah.
Yeah. It's always, I'll put it on Blackboard.
Will I be participating in class today?
I don't think so, because we have more to do. If you do an in-class, email me, and if there is one, I'll let you know. Where
Okay,
do you
so
have
it should
to
be
go?
on Blackboard, right?
Where-
Well, I was gonna leave it until 12:45, but since we have a break, and it's gonna go till like 12:50.
Do you have something to go urgently? Is that why you're leaving early?
I have to go to work.
Go to work?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, if there is, then I'll let you do it. Okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem. Yeah, it will be on Blackboard or whatever.
Okay,
But I
sweet.
think the chances are bleak today because there's still a
There's
lot to do. Yeah.
All right. Actually enjoyed our classes. Yes, we're ready for
Yeah, remember that really funny inside joke? Yeah, it'd be
I went to Mexico yesterday. That was class.
yeah, that was the funniest. Oh, yeah. I hate him now.
Oh, really? You are, bro.
No, he was way better than the other guy. He was just like, whatever. This guy. Having your mom.
Yeah, so you guys know, you can't do it, go down there.
Snowboarder. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like a random guy that's like, oh, you know, like,
Just to let you guys know, no, he wasn't like, oh, just, you know, be worse.
Yeah.
Trying to be polite.
I think it's like, I think it's like.
No, it's just like, yeah, I know. Oh, we had so many comments. 10 minutes after, 2 days later, like, oh, we care.
I wish I had like a mom that could put on the water, like, how much is it?
Yeah, put it here, boom, what's up?
So this, yeah, buy something like nice.
Yeah.
I would be the perfect scheme to think about Oh,
And they're like, oh, yeah, thanks, man. And he just walked away. He wasn't even like walking past. He saw it right there. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do it. Well, no, because we sent it to him, which is one like one. And he's like, yeah, what's fine, buddy? Most everything happened. This like random guy was like, oh yeah. Yeah, the rest of them walking by, like on his way, like, hey, by the way, guys, just like, no.
It's like you walk through the hall, by your hat, like, hey man, I'm having fun.
Yeah. Well, doesn't that suck? Take off my hat.
That's about, no.
I might have to go to the right side.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
I didn't know that.
My one check is a lot, and I still want to come speak. I don't know, check. You wanna read that, everybody?
What's the guy from,
That might be copyright.
Totally.
That might be.
My school was qualified, girl.
That's messed up, man.
That's the last thing I've ever read.
Say it's 5 girls. That's so lucky.
They might have copyright.
It's probably, it's like his most important. They probably.
That's like just to keep bad, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not about that
You know, like the little people that.
Well, that mine's pretty
basically.
I don't know. Okay.
I know, but the thing is that when I want to use Carl, but he does some Photoshop, it says.
Well, it should.
It doesn't matter how.
Yeah. It's possible.
I'm like,
Yeah. This is what I'm gonna use.
This is more like.
You had any doubts?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What language was this on?
Yeah, kind of like half. The designing is yeah, it is really cool.
Big button that's generated.
The design.
Oh, one, the first away, second away, two away, right? And it's only a simple,
basically, you're gonna overlay this image and then add
Or just one, any one of them. So you press that, then it shows you any one of
And if I say too loud, it's like, oh.
It's like March something. Yeah.
Yeah, don't come late.
capital P, R-A-D-I-P, @19.
What do I gotta do?
My phone not recording. My phone not recording. First one with the video one. तो आप बड़ी बॉलीवुड वेब सीरीज में ये तो पहला पर्सन यूट्यूब पे एडिटिंग में तुम्हारे खरीदो हरियाणा पर बालाजी हमारे जिला में
My favorite video right now is a little kid. The title is
I know that.
Okay, let's look at the problem now. Let's put a little brain work here before we start looking at how to do it. The question says, which girl sold cookies? Of course, sales should be greater than 0 on maximum number of days. So here is the question. So there are 4 girls, right? And 2 of them sold them on 7 days and 2 on 6. We've already checked that. Now the question says, which girl? Now we have no clue. Maybe only one girl sold it on 7, the others on 6, 5, whatever. We have no clue. Is it one girl or more than one girls? But which girl sold cookies on maximum number of days? So here is logically what we should do. And then we'll write it, right? So I'll group all the girls in their own groups. So I have Nicole's information here. Brittany's here. Who else was this? Ashley was there. And there was another one. Who was the last girl? Brittany, Nicole, Lindsay. Okay. So I'll put them in groups, that's for sure, because I want to count how many days did they make a sale, right? So that's what the question. Which girls sold on maximum number of days? So first, let me find out how many for each girl. So I'll find out how many days did she make a sale, how many days did she make a sale, she and C. We know how to do that. So let's try that. Don't look at, I have given you a solution, but I've said it's not foolproof. And let me tell you what I mean by it's not foolproof. So I'm going to select the name and the count, right? I'm going to group by first name, which we've already done. I've grouped it. And then I'm going to count. So if I only run this, which we were done before also, it tells me, okay, did I change data? Did I change it back? Maybe I didn't. Okay, so I'm going to save it and run it again. Because remember, I changed the 12th March to all zeros. Okay, so the last answer. Okay, so let me now only run this. And we've seen this before. I'm not doing anything different. I'm selecting the first name of the person and I'm counting how many days did she make a sale. That's all I'm doing. So it shows me Nicole made a sale on 7 days, Brittany on 7, Lindsay on 7, and Ashley on 6. There are only 4 girls here. So it's not so tough to look at the table. But logically, if there were many girls or if it was a big application, you will say, oh, okay, you know what? I'm only going to show my first record. So please, here, that's something new you haven't seen before, limit 1. So what is limit? Limit says, how many records do you want to display on the screen? So I'm only displaying the first record, assuming whoever is the first, because I've put them in descending order, whoever is the first sold the maximum. But I'm not keeping this in view that, oh, what if there are more than 1 girls, which there are 2 with 7. Maybe there are 3, maybe there are 4, 5, I don't know. Like I only have 4 girls here, so it's easy to, I'm only talking about 2 girls, but maybe that the first 10 have the same maximum value, or maybe the first 20, first 15. I won't go and look at the answer and count, oh, all these are maximum or minimum. So I've written an answer. I've said, okay, show me the first name of the person, count how many days did she make a sale, where sales are greater than 0 because we want to only count the days she made the sale. And then I'm going to group them by first name. That's important because that's how I'm counting. I'm going to order it, and then I'm only going to show the first record. Good enough? You'll say, yeah, that's fine. That's my right answer. Nicole made it on 7 days. But unfortunately, there were 2 girls. That's not the right answer. The question is which girl or girls sold cookies on maximum number of days. So it's not foolproof. It just shows me one answer. But there are 2 answers. There are 2 girls. You'll say, oh, why don't you say limit 2? Why don't you just say limit 2? But who knows how many of them there are? What if there were 3 or 4 or 5? I have no clue. Like I can't keep doing this manually. The whole purpose of writing code is that you don't have to do it manually, right? The whole purpose is that you don't do it manually. So this is one answer. There's nothing wrong in it, but it's not foolproof. It's only true. It will only work if there is only one person with the maximum. It's like saying, who got the maximum mark in the class? There could be 1 student, there could be 2, there could be 3, I have no idea. So I just can't say, oh, the first person in the list. Why in the list? Because I've ordered it by descending order. So the first person in the list gets the maximum marks. Maybe there are more. So that's not foolproof. So I'm not saying it's wrong, but it is not the correct answer. So what can I do? Now, if I can find this maximum value, which I can, which is 7, if I can find this maximum value that it is 7, and then find everybody with 7 in the list and show that answer, I'm done. I can always find out what the maximum is by this rule. Limit 1 will always give me the maximum. Now I pick up that maximum value and then I check the rest of the list, not manually, let the system do it, and check the rest of the list, and everybody who matches 7 is the person who made the maximum sale. Logically, that's fine. That's what you would do. Find the maximum and then count. Do you have the maximum? Do you have the maximum? Do you have the maximum? And so let's do it that way now. So this will work if and only if there is only one person with the maximum value. But it will not work if you have more than 1 Girl Scouts or more than 1 student with the maximum mark. So therefore, I have said it's not foolproof. Assuming there is only 1 girl with the maximum sale, that's what you're assuming. Or with maximum count, right? So now let me do a little bit of more programming for you. I still need this. I need this. I need to know what is the maximum value. For that I'm sure. After I have the maximum value, I'm going to run a list and say, do you match? Do you match? Do you match? So I know the maximum is 7. Nicole, do you have 7? Yep, you are in the list. Brittany, do you have 7? No, you're not in the list. Ashley, do you have 7? Yes, you're in the list. Lindsay, do you have 7? No, you're not in the list. That's all I have to do. So let me get this maximum value. Let me save it somewhere, right? So I'll use a variable. I'll put it in a box. And then once I have it in the box, I'll say, do you match? Do you match? Do you match? And I'll ask everybody. Not everybody, every group. And I'll know whether they have it or not. Okay, makes sense? So the solution is here. Logically, the solution says, group them by first name, which I did here. Group them up. Find out their count of their sale dates as long as the sales are greater than 0. That will tell me how many days did she make a sale. Once you have that, order it by the count in descending order. So the maximum will come at the top. And then limit 1 will say, oh, this is the maximum. So let me get this value and save it and then use it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a variable and use the set statement in MySQL to save it. What is a variable? A variable is a box. You can kind of think it of like a box which has a name and whose value can vary. Therefore, it's called variable, right? So I'm going to see how can I do it in MySQL or in SQL. Now, for your information, variable names in SQL have to start with the @ sign. So all variable, you can just think of it as my right pocket, my left pocket, you know, just a name. It's just a name. Okay, so it's just a box that you're creating. The rule in SQL is that the name should start with the @ sign. Like rules of for your name. Your names have letters and blank and maybe apostrophe. Anything else? No. You can't have digits in your name. You can't have commas in your name. So it's a rule. So rule in MySQL says that a box name or a variable name starts with a @ The rest I've just used my usual convention of using the underscore. You can use Java convention if you like, letters and digits. The rest is the same. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this box this value, right? So I'm going to kind of select it and make a change. Give me 1 minute, okay? I'm going to copy it from here, and between the round brackets, I'm going to put that statement. Except that I don't need the first name. I just need the count. I just need the count. A variable can only store a value, a single value. My answer should be a single value. So I'm going to count on the sale date from the table where the sales are greater than 0, group them by first name, order by, there is only one field now, order by one descending, and I'm going to here. Make sense what I did? I found out the maximum value. Now, why did I remove the name from it? For your info, now this is called indentation. It makes reading a little easy. Is it a rule? No. Is it recommended? Yes. It's easy to read now, right? Okay, so what have I done? I found out the maximum sale value. How did I find it out? By the normal select statement. I counted it, but before counting, I grouped them up by the first name, and then I say you count, you count, you count, you count. Everybody counted it. Then I put it in a list. It's a table, right? I displayed it by descending order. So the maximum comes first. And then I picked up the first record, limit 1. First record, right? Remember, we've done limit in the beginning. I said limit 0, 0 was the default. Offset, how many? So I said limit 1. So now I have the value 7 in max value. I have it. I've saved it somewhere. I have that value. You'll say, but what if I want to double check? Okay, let's write a select statement to double check. Select at max value. If it works. Let's see. So take that and run it. There. Answer is right. 7 is the maximum. Just to show it to you, you don't have to do it. I wanted to show you that max value has the highest value. And I didn't give it a name or anything here. This is just putting a value into a variable. You have to keep in mind, a variable can only save a value, one value. So I had to remove first name from here. If I hadn't done it, what am I getting? I'm getting 2 fields, 2 values. I can keep 2 values into one box. The rule is one box has 1 value. So I removed the first, and I don't need it. Right? Make sense? So now I have the value. Now what is my job number 2? So your first job is first find the maximum count. That's your first job. You found it. Now what is your second job now? This was just so that you could see it. Okay. Now what is your second job? Your second job is, so let's put 1 first. Yeah, but that's what it means, first. And then second. Secondly, what should you do? Now you should basically say, do you have, now you have to find the names of the girls where their count, their maximum count is equal to this count, right? Make sense? So my first job was find it. Right? So my first job was find it. So I found it. Let's keep it here. This should be very clear to you. How did I find it? All I did was I grouped them. I displayed it using descending order. So remember, a temporary table, it's not a table, it's just a temporary, we call it table because it looks like a table. A temporary output is created, which comes on the screen for you. There's nothing physical about it, nothing. And when I say limit 1, only the first one shows up because I just want to see a value. I don't want to see all values because the variable can only save a value. So I picked up the maximum value and I've saved it in at max value. And I showed you it works. The value 7 was coming up. Now my job is, now I will ask each girl, does your maximum count match this cap maximum? If yes, good. If not, you're not in the list. Okay, so now let's do that. Now I'm going to now select the first name of the girl, whoever it is, right? We don't know who it is. You can go of that girl. And then I'm going to also go show the count. We have to show the count. The question was show me the count. You can call it maximum sale days. I still have to show the name and the count. Both have to be shown, right? And I have no clue how many, but I will find out how many. And we'll repeat the rest from and wherever and the grouping. All this is making sense because all you are doing is you're saying pick up the name, pick up the count of this girl, and you have to group it by this. But now comes the question. I only have to pick up those groups in which their count is equal to the maximum count. Right? Now, how do we write that? How do we write that in the select statement? Introducing you to a new verb in the select statement, having. Keep in mind, like where is related to from, you're saying which records do I select? Similarly, group is related to having. Group and having go together. You can't have having without a group. Right? So as where is to from, having is to group. So you're laying a condition on the group now. You're saying having this count of the sale date equal to the maximum value. And if, did I say order by something? I don't know. We'll just do order by first name because it's the same value. Okay, now see what did I do? I said, take the name and the count of those girls in which their count is equal to maximum value. So I've added a condition. Having is to group as where is to from. Keep that in mind. So I can't repeat the word where again. So they've replaced it by the word having. So you're saying this. You're saying group them up by first name. That's the grouping. In each of this grouping, this girl has a name and has a count. The grouping is for the counting. The main purpose of the grouping is for counting. Now, if the count of this group is equal to the maximum sale, spit it out. Spit out the name, spit out the count. So every group is asked, do you have 7? Do you have 7? Do you have 7? Do you have 7? Anything that matches the 7 value is spit out. But your job before that 7, to get the 7, you had to first find out the value 7. And now all I did was I said, is your count equal to the maximum value? If it is, spit yourself out. So let's try it now. So I should have 2 names now. Seems like I have an error. No, I don't. It's just slow. There, my answers. Nothing, it's foolproof. I don't know how many, but all I did was I asked each one the same question. So the maximum marks in the class were 30 out of 30. All I did was I asked each one of you, do you have 30? Yes, your name spits out. Do you have 30? No, your name doesn't spit out. That's all I did. The only thing I had to do here was, it was not a single value, your marks, it was a count. So I counted them first, but after the count, it is a single value. So I said, is your count 7? Yep, you're in the list. Is your count 7? No, you're not in the list. So now I have a list of all those girls who made sales on maximum number of days. So you have been introduced to having. Now this select is complete. So select from, where, group by, having, order by, limit. That's the whole select now. You've done everything in select. I'll do one more example with having because having is new, right? It just takes a little bit of thinking. But just think this way. Having is a condition that you're putting in on the groups. And where is a condition that you're putting in from? So relate them that way. So we say where is to from, where is related to from, and having is related to group by. So having cannot occur without group by. Because you're asking each group, do you have this? Do you have this? Okay? That's now it is in its complete. Now I can't use limit here because I want to show all names, but that's select in its eternity. Select from, where, group by, having, order by, and the last is the limit. And you can change that order. They have to come in that order. Right? That's a select statement in its advanced complete eternity. We'll do one more example with having. I just want you to think again. So you can't have limit here, but the last in the list of select is limit. So keep in mind, select from, where, group by, having, order by, and limit. That's the sequence. You can change it. Okay? Let's do one more example. Pick up the grade book one. Open the grade book one. There were 4 I gave you on Blackboard today. I'll do the grade center one first now, because that has an example where you'll need it again. So this one is complete, and I will put it on Blackboard. It does go back on Blackboard for your information. Everything I do does go back. If you didn't know that, now you know. Okay, let's go back here. Again, I'm just going to save it so that I don't lose my previous Blackboards one. Otherwise, I have to do it every semester. Oh, let's do this. So go to your grade center, open it, and we'll discuss it in a minute as soon as I save it as a different file. So again, I've given you the beginning files. Again, we'll very quickly go through it. Comments are there to create a database with a table to store grades of students in various courses. So alter the table to add a primary key. And I again want to bring something to your notice about this primary key, which only a couple of you have followed in the exam. To the table, display a list of students who have scored 80% or higher in at least 2 subjects. Further display the average mark of each student. So that's what this script does. Please, the purpose of this script has to be complete. You just can't say create a database and a table. That makes no sense. That's not what the script is doing. Follow Anju's instructions. No, that's not what the script is doing. You exactly have to say, don't be verbose. Don't kind of write each one of them like my question. Don't repeat them, but give it in a general way. Inserting, deleting, and updating records and modifying the table structure. That was enough for your exam, right? You were adding, deleting, and modifying records, and you were altering the table structure. You don't alter records. You alter the table structure. Okay, so just very generic one, but it has to be there. Okay, the rest we'll go quickly through it. Drop the database if it exists, create one and use it. Drop the table. I've kind of uncommented it because one of you commented it in the exam. Now in the exam, if I've asked you to do it, please uncomment it. It has marks. You know what I mean? I comment it in class because I know it's useless, but when I'm asking in the exam, I want you to write it for me, not put it in comments. Then I create the table. Let's look at the table. We already know about these types. First name is a varchar, last name is a varchar, student number is a character 10. Now you could call it student number if you like, or student num. It's a char 10, not null. Course is a character 8, like your courses, Comp2003, that's what the course is. And the grade is a tiny int because marks are out of 100, right? Percentages always come out of 100. So there's nothing smaller than tiny int. So I went tiny int. I could have gone bit, of course, but that's too much work. The smallest in int is tiny int. It's an unsigned, it's not null, and the default is 0. Please do not put the 0 in quotes. It's not wrong. We know it's not wrong. MySQL takes it, but I don't want you to do it. And I always say it in my instructions. I say text data in quotes, numeric data without quotes. Date, you choose any format you like. You want to use dashes, do it. You want to use a number, do it. Whatever you like. Now, a few things that I would like to bring to your notice. This table does not have a primary key. It doesn't. Which of these fields could have acted as a primary key? Student number. Why? Because it is unique. Names, you could say combination of name, first name and last name. It can. You can always combine more than one fields to make a primary key. I could, though I won't. I could say when you have more than, you can either put it in front of them, but the usual notation is putting it here. Oh, it's all going in capital, but anyway. I don't want to do it because I want to show you how to add a primary key. I think the last time I was doing it, I was struggling with some syntax errors and I said, okay, we'll use modify, and most of you used modify, though the solution was on Blackboard. Now, this is another way of, you can always make a composite primary key. You're saying the combination together is primary key, and that's absolutely doable. There's nothing wrong in it at all. Now, you can argue that first names and last name combination can also be non-unique. And yeah, maybe it's 1 in 1,000 or million case, but it could be. So student number definitely is unique. So we can make student number as the primary. When a field already exists in the table and you want to make it a primary key, then you don't have to modify anything. You don't use modify or change. I've also seen change in the midterm. You're not changing anything. Change, and again, another thing, that's a couple of students have this notion that if I have to do two things, I should first change the name, then modify the type, then change its position. No, write one, change or modify and do everything that you want to do. You don't repeat it over and over again. It's redundant. It's useless. So if I have something and I want to do a job, I'll do it all together and I'll finish it. For example, you take your car to the, you say, oh, I want to get it washed, I want to get the oil changed. You won't kind of say, okay, wash it, you go back and come back again. Now you put oil in it, then you go back and come back again. Out of the door, in the door. Out. You don't do that. You say, here is my car. These are the things I want to get done. And they're all done. And so please don't do it. Don't write a change, a modify, and first an add, then change, then modify. Do whatever is needed, do it in one statement. Okay? Now, if a field already exists, it's a character 10 field. It's called student number. I'm assuming it is unique. You'll say, I don't know, but we know it is. If there is a doubt, we can add a new primary key. If there is no doubt, we can make a primary key. Okay, so I will remove this. But my aim in not putting a primary key here was a different reason altogether. I wanted you to revise your alter table statement with it. So is this table in the first normal form? Remember, we've been talking about first normal form. I say no. Why or why not? No, since there is no primary key in the table. Let us add a primary key to the table so that it is in the first normal form by altering its structure. So there are two solutions. Solution number one, which is not wrong at all. What do? I alter my table. The name of the table is table grade center. And I just add, you'll say add is a column. This is different. I'm saying add primary key and make, as you suggested, the student number a primary key. And that's how you do it for an existing field. Don't use modify. Some of you have done it in the exam because I know last week when I was teaching it, I said, oh, something was going wrong with my format in add primary key. But I found it out right in the break and I put it on Blackboard and I said it's done. So this is not wrong. You could have done it this way, but you're not modifying anything. You know what I mean? Like the name remains the same. The type remains the same. So what am I modifying? I'm not changing the name. I'm not changing the type. And a mistake that I've seen in the exam is you're making it an auto increment field. You cannot make a field auto increment just by any field. Like it's already there. You don't even know what the values are. It's a character field. How can you make it auto increment? You can. So you can do this if you like, and you can add primary key after it. And that's what most of you have done. And of course, you've got marks for it. There's nothing wrong in it at all. Nothing wrong in it. But if there is a provision of making a field a primary key by using add primary key statement, why will I modify? I won't. I don't have to type anything. All I say is add the primary key. Change is used when you want to change the name and the type. Modify is used when you only want to change the type and the positions. Positions, anything can go together if you like. But choose the one that is the most appropriate and effective and efficient. So this modify is not wrong, but I don't want you to do it because there is a better way of doing it. So this is what I wanted to bring to your attention. And most of you were missing this. Almost 80% of class went with the modify. Just because I did modify and then I changed it, but maybe you didn't remember the change. Or solution number two, if I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure if student number is unique. Assuming, so yet you're assuming, though it's not a wrong assumption, but you won't know till somebody tells you. Like, I mean, we know it because we are in an educational environment and it makes sense. We are assuming that it is unique and not null. right? So we are assuming this. So here it was not null, but nowhere did it say it was unique. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but there's nothing wrong in assuming it. Or when you're saying you have no clue, then you add a new key, add a new field. Now think about it. I'm going to add a field. This field has to identify each record, ones that are already present and ones that will be added. It must be unique also. Then the only option that is left with you is what? An auto increment int. That's the only option left. You want to ensure that it is unique. You want to ensure that every record has a value of it. It's not null. So the only way to ensure is make it auto increment. So whatever is in the table will all automatically get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatever new you add will be taken care of. You'll say, what if I don't want to make it auto increment? I want to make it character, or I want to add values myself. Sure, you can do that. But think of if you had 1,000 records in the table, now you'll have to go and update each of them. So what would you prefer? An auto increment. Right? So when you add a new primary key, then an easy and right way of is to use an int auto increment. It's not a rule. You could add an int key, but you'll say, no, it's not auto increment. I will provide the values. Then you'll have to go and update every record. Go ahead and do it. Right? So the solution number 2 is you alter the table, but of course you choose one. You alter the table, you add a new field altogether. You can call it whatever you like. So what was this? This was a student ID. So let's call it student ID. And it's up to you, entirely up to you what you want to make it. Do you want to make it character, integer? It's entirely up to you. Nothing stops you. The easiest and the correct way, there's nothing wrong in it, is to make it an int. Unsigned to be on the safe side, though I'm making it auto increment and auto increments, but I'm kind of taking care, even if I change the auto increment to -300 or whatever, it can be unsigned. And you add it at the first position. That's not necessary at all. And make it the primary key. This is solution number 2. What is it saying? Definitely it will say something. Oh, yeah, okay. The position comes at the end. Now, when I run this script, it will first make this as a primary key, and then it will add a column. I don't know whether it will say anything about it, or it will say I can make a primary key. Let's run it and see. Logically, will it replace it, or will I have an error? Oh, there is something here which hasn't worked. There is a student number. There is a student number. Why? Because these are marks of my students in their various courses. So a student can occur more than once. You are taking 6 courses. Your marks in 6 courses are here. Your student number will be the same. Student number cannot act as a primary. In this table, it cannot act as a primary. Because what does this table have? It has your grades in each of the courses you are taking, not only in my one single course. So it came up with that error. It says, oh, student number cannot be a primary key. So you tried thinking student number was the primary key, but it cannot be. And I have that error. Notice it says duplicate entry. And it is making sense because every student is occurring more than once. Do you notice? It's there's somebody's marks. That somebody could be anything. Here it is. For Fletcher. So he's taking 2 courses, Comp2003 and Comp2007. So it's a consolidated gradebook. It's not only my single instructor gradebook. I can make student number. I cannot. So that's not a solution at all. In this table, it's not a solution. So I will have to comment that out. But I'll leave it there, okay? Because I did say, assuming if, there is a big if here. Write it in capital. If student number is unique and not null, which it is not. It's not in this table. We know it is a unique field, but it's not in this table. So I can't use this. But my aim was to show you this statement, which I think I only saw in a couple of midterm exam. Only a couple. Because rest of you used modify. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm just saying there is a better way of doing it. So I can do this. So my only other option is to add a new field. I added it. And again, I repeat, you don't have to make it int auto increment. A primary key can have any type. It can be a character, it can be a varchar, it can be a date. The only restriction on the primary key is it is not null and unique. That's the only restriction. The type is not the restriction. Right? I could choose any type I like. So when I said make title ID in your midterm exam, I said make title ID the primary key. A few of you thought, oh, title ID is character. I have to change it to an integer. And you changed it. You didn't make it the primary key, you added a new column altogether. You tried to add a new column and of course you have errors there. Okay? So making a primary key means it's already there and you designated it. I didn't even say make, I said designate it as a primary key. My words in English said designate. Give it this designation. But again, maybe you were just thinking, oh, primary key is always int and auto increment. It's not. I could have made this student ID a character. I could have. Nothing stops me. I choose to do it this way because one, it is correct. That is the first important thing. It is correct. And two, it's easy. I don't have to think anything. Automatically, records that are in the table get 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and the new records get whatever. I could change it if I like. Nobody stops me, but it's the easiest way of doing it. And that's how you do it. You add a new field. And again, I repeat, don't assume that the primary key has to be an int, unsigned auto increment. It can be any type as long as it is unique and not. And two, you just learned today that a field, more than one fields together can also act as a primary key. You'll learn more about it from Friday because we'll be doing joins, but you can combine fields. First name and last name could have been combined together to give you a primary key. Okay, so that's done. Then the describe table, for your information, describes the table structure. It will display the table structure. That's what describe does, okay? And the select statement displays the records of the table. I keep writing these comments over and over again in every script, and still I'm seeing that they're missing somewhere. At the end of the day, it's up to you. Can't do much about it except mark it and give my comments, right? Okay, now let's look at the question. So have you understood this? Just because it was missing, I wanted to bring it out. I tried, it didn't work because it was not unique. For this table, I added a new one. And now when you run it, it should work perfectly fine. And that's how all I have to do is I have to look at your output and say, oh, there's a structure. Yeah, she's made a, or he's made a primary key. There it is. It is an auto increment. It's an int. I made it unsigned. Every field is not null. See, I didn't add not null with my student ID. You don't have to, because primary key means not null. I didn't have to add a not null here. Don't do it. A couple of you do. I don't know why, but that's okay. You don't have to. Don't do it. It's extra writing. And everything else looks okay. So all I do is I check this and I check this. And therefore I say, give me a running script. I want to look at answers. If your script stops in between, I've been saying this, but I'm still marking it because I understand as students, you're doing an exam, you may be tensed and so on, and I'm giving you the benefit of doubt and I'm still marking everything. But if a script stops, it stops. If your car stops, it stops. You can't say, oh, you know what, if you put gas on it, it will start moving. But right now it stopped. You're in the middle of the road. What can you do? That's the same with me. I don't see output. I don't give you marks. I don't see anything. What do I give you marks for? Now let's see this. Let's logically think about it. It says create a list of potential tutors by providing the first and the last name of all students that have received 80% or higher. So let's say name, and we'll concatenate it. We'll do concatenate. Right? That have received 80% or higher in at least two classes listed alphabetically by, oh, can't do that because I'm saying listed by alphabetically by last name. Can't change my question. The question is already done. I was hoping I could show you concatenation. Okay, think about it. What do I want? What is my aim? My aim is to, again, group every student's marks in a group. So Vivian marks goes in one group, Malika's goes in another, Andrea's in another, and so on, and Brandon and Kirtan and everything. They're all in groups. So maybe Vivian is taking 5 courses, Malika is taking 2, and so on. But whatever, I've grouped them. I have no idea how many courses they're taking. So I group them. Then I say in each group, I say, do you have more than 80 marks in at least 2 of your subjects? If you're taking less than 2, you're out anyway. I don't even have to bother talking to you. Are you taking 2 or more courses? Yes. Oh, now we'll ask the next question. Are you taking less than 2 courses? I'm only taking 1. Okay, you're not a potential tutor anymore. So you're out. So a few things. Group them. Now pick up those groups in which the count is greater than 2. Because I said potential tutors are whom? Who have 80% or more in at least 2 subjects. So group them and then choose the groups having count greater than 2. Right? So you've chosen that groups. Now you talk to that groups and say, do you have more than 80 in at least 2? So make groups, pick up the groups that have count greater than 2. There could be 3, 4, 5, I don't know, whatever. Now talk to those groups. Do you have 80 or more in at least 2 subjects? Yes, you are a potential tutor. Do you have 80 or more than at least 2 subjects? No, you're not a potential. So kind of think of it. I need to group, so I need group by. Having, because their count should be greater than 2. And then the from and the where, because I have to pick up where their marks are greater than 8. Make sense? So we have to use everything that we did in our select. So now let's go step by step. What I have done is, if I can find it, I also did this in a PowerPoint, not in a PowerPoint, Excel worksheet, so that you could work through it, think through it. We'll do it here, and then I'll also put the Excel worksheet on Blackboard so that you can kind of think of what I am doing. Okay, so let's go one by one. I need the name. And I said select providing the first name and the last name, and the fields are called, I usually write the fields so that I don't have to keep looking. The fields are called first name and last name. Okay, so select first name, comma, last name. This is the first name and the last name. Okay, right? Of all students that have received 80 or higher in 2 classes listed alphabetically by last name. So somewhere I'll have an order by. Right? I'll have an order by because it says list them alphabetically. But now inside that, I have to first form groups. And groups have to be formed by what? What should you form the groups by? Logically, think about it. What should you form the groups by? Which field must you use to form the groups, which will be a foolproof field? There will be no duplication in it. When I mean no duplication, I mean you're not taking an Andrea of my class and an Andrea of another class. Which field should I group by? That's important. How are you forming the group? What's common? Student number. Not student ID. Student ID will never be common because student ID is the primary key. It's not related to the student actually at all. It's just, I shouldn't even call it student ID. I should just call it ID because it's just the record number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what I mean? It's not identifying the student at all. I just created that primary key because my table was not in the first normal form and every table must be in the first normal form. So you know what? Let me change that name from student ID to just ID, because don't confuse it with the student ID. It's not a student ID. It's just basically a field. Let's call it just ID, just because it sounds better. Okay. So you have to group by whom? You have to group by something that's common. So we'll group it by student number. And we get his third bonus point to them, right? That's the common thing between all the students in the same group. I didn't use name because I'm not sure about names. In the cookie says I use name because I said the names are named. Here I'm not sure. I have no idea. And they're not, because every student has more than one record. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know if 2 students are called Anju in my class. I have no idea. But this is safe. Their student numbers are unique to them. Not unique in the table, but they're unique to them. Okay. Now, when I group them by, I only want to pick up those students whose count of what is greater than 2. You tell me. Greater than, or at least 2 it said, sorry. Now, what should I be counting for them? Course. This student has more than 1 course. Right? Make sense? So group them by student number. Why? Because the student number is common amongst every group. Right? So all Anjus together, all Vivians together, all Brandon together, all Kilas together. That's what I want to do. So group them by student number. I mean, not by name, by number. And then pick up those boxes or talk to those students who have at least 2 courses. I'm not talking about marks yet, but I mean, first let me find out if they have 2 courses, then I'll say what is your marks. So having count of their field was called course. Make sense? Is it making sense what I'm trying to do? Right? I'm saying pick up now, group them by student number, and now only pick up those in which the count of courses is greater than 2. So these students are at least taking 2 courses. At least 2. Now I have those groups. Now I talk to them and say, you have more than 80%. More than 80% into courses, more than 80. They may have 5 courses, 6 courses, 8. I don't know how many they have. They have more than 2. I know. But now I'm interested, do you have more than 80 in at least 2 of them? Right? So now I need a from and a where condition. So you may have to kind of go backwards. That doesn't matter as long as you write the complete statement when you're done. Okay, so this one is an easy one. From which table is the easiest? And the table is called Table Grade Center. And now comes your where, now comes your where condition. Okay. Now what do I have to check? Exactly. And the grade is greater than 80. At least 80. At least I think it said, right? Oops, sorry. I mean, I'm not concerned. I have these groups. I have these groups. These groups already have more than 2 courses. They already have more than 2. Maybe the person has 18, all 5. I don't care. I only picked up those groups in which the number of courses was more than 2. And now from those groups, I pick up only those groups in which the marks are greater than or equal to, I think we said 80. Create a list of potential, yeah, 80 or higher in at least 2 classes listed alphabetically by last name. Make sense? That is the end result. So make groups, choose the groups in which the classes are greater than 2, and then choose from there. As soon as you find a greater than 80, you are done.
So we were that first name or last name?
I don't know what the question said. Last name. The question said last name, so definitely we will go by last name. There. Let's try it. Right? Hoping it is right, but of course I'm assuming it is right. So let's pick it this. You can run the whole script. There's nothing else in the script. We made primary keys and all that, so be careful. So here are, so this person, whoever, Baljit, doesn't have a last name. There may be no last name. It may be blank in his table, but we'll have to check. For Fletcher, Isabella, and Baljit are 3 students who have taken more than 2 courses. Now, if you like, you can kind of run them what do I mean? Just by groups. Maybe you say, I'll just say select from and then group by having. I won't put the where first. You can do it in pieces if you want, and then kind of build upon it, right? So you may not have 73. You may just first run all students who have more than 2 courses. Once you have people who have more than 2 courses, then you can say if the answer is right. So I see Fob is here, 100. Baljit has 100. And Isabella has a 90. Fob has another 100. Baljit has another 100. And Isabella has an 88. You could add more records, really doesn't matter. As long as they have greater count greater than equal to 2 and their marks are greater than 80, they will be chosen. Right? So the answer is right. And of course, the rest are, you'll say there is another one. There is a doctor, oops, whatever the name. But that person has a 78 here and has a 55 here. So this person had more than at least 2 courses. The doctor guy had at least 2 courses, but the doctor guy's marks were not good. Similarly, major monogram has 2 courses, but both are less than 80. Right? So you can add more records, delete records or whatever. Let's try doing this. This doctor guy, let's see if we make one of his records as 88. He should not still show up, right? His count is greater than or equal to 2, but his marks are not greater than 80. There. Right, so I'll kind of change it back. Control Z, Z78 and Control S. So that's another example of having. And having is not it's not, again, it's just new for you. And the aim was just to kind of show it to you. If you can kind of remember it this way, having is a rule on group, then you can kind of relate it. So when you write a having statement, that is a rule that you're forming on the groups. When you're writing a where, you're forming a condition or you're forming a rule on the table, from the from table. So which records do I want to find out and which groups do I want to pick up? So having is to group as where is to from is how we say it, if you can remember it that way. Those are related and they come together in the select statement also. So where is related to from and having is related to group. So which groups to choose, you will say in having. Which records to select, you will have it in where. Okay. Okay, the next one. Find the average mark of each student rounded to 1 decimal place. We've done rounding before. Display the full name of the student as student name and the average grade column as average mark. Okay, let's do it then. I don't know why I've used a single and a double quote, and only one student did that, a single and a double quote. It's not wrong to put some text data in single quote and some text data in double quote, but again, be consistent. You can always escape by using a backslash. So in your exam, the second record, which had a quote in its record, all you had to do was put a backslash before it and it would work. And again, only I think 2 or 3 students didn't get it. The rest of you did it. And one, I think, only did it with a double quotes. You can put double quotes outside and not do anything with it. It just looks untidy, but that's fine. Okay, so now find the average mark and the full name of the student. Okay, so let's do a concatenation. Full name is asked. Select. You've seen this function before, concat. Concat is a function standing for concatenation. You are taking the first name. You used, a couple of you used concat underscore WS. WS means white space. If you want to give a blank, even that can be used. I'm just more used to this one. Okay, so I've concatenated the first name, a blank in between, and the last name, and I want to call it as student name. Oh. That's my first field. My second field is the average mark of each student. So we know that we just did it, right? We did a round method to round it. And inside the round method, the average method, the average function, they're called functions, not methods. The average function, whose average do you want to find out? What were they called? Oops. Grade. The field what is called grade for your information. Oh, and how many places? 1 place after decimal. So you can use a cast, you can use a round, whatever is more easy to understand, whatever you like. So round the average grade to 1 place of decimal. It said rounding, so and cast and rounding both do rounding. We've figured that out, right? Cast, you can use cast also. Can use cast also, okay? Okay, now from which table? Of course, the table doesn't change. So every student's average mark. So definitely we have to do a grouping by. And then there is no condition. I don't have a where. Which records to select? I don't have a condition. Everybody's has to be selected. But I have to group them up. And again, we've already made this consensus that we should be grouping them by student number. Right? Anything else? Did it say rounding? Oh, sorry. Ordering? No, it didn't say anything. It says find the average mark for each student, rounded to 1 place of decimal, display the full name and the average mark, average grade column. A few of you forgot this display names. I saw it like I could say half, or maybe 75 and 25%. But since you missed it out, I'm kind of just again writing it here. Okay. Oh, forgot the. That's a display name. Again, the word as is optional. Okay. And ordering was not asked. If you want to, sure, go ahead and do it. Really doesn't matter. For line comments, stick with the hash or the double. For group comments, go with this. Otherwise, I mean, these are group comments. Was this toggle wrapping? There. Sorry, didn't think I was going out of the screen. My typing was here. So I've concatenated it. I have done the average, and the average is done by the grouping. These are all aggregate functions. You don't do average on without doing, you can't do average without grouping by. You can't. All these are aggregate functions, okay? If you don't say group by, it will just do the average of everything. I mean, the whole thing is also a group, but they are aggregate functions. Try it. And there is a result. So those are their average marks. One place after decimal, and it's rounded. I mean, I'm assuming it will work. Hopefully there's nothing wrong in it. And that's the first name, and it should be by ascending first name. So Baljit, C, D, E, F, I, J, M, N, O, P, Q, R. Yep. So it's by the name now. And I created a name field. I created a field where I concatenated the first name and the last name, and I put a blank in between. If I don't put a blank, then your name will come together, which will look very untidy. So that blank was to concatenate it. And therefore, a few of you had used _WS for white space in your assignment when you did it. You can use that too. Your white space character, you can use anything. I've used a blank. Usually you put a blank between names. I mean, you don't put commas, but I mean, I've seen commas too, but whatever you like. So there is a concat and there is a concat _WS for white space. Tabs, blanks are called white space characters. One more, new line are called white space characters. The WS stands for white space. Okay. Therefore, there is a concat and there is a concat WS. So you can put tab, blank, and so on, whatever you like. There it is. Okay. So kind of we've covered quite a few things. We've done new functions. We've done definitely select in its eternity, and we've done some max, min, average functions that were easy. I don't have much time, but I would like to start doing string functions with you. So we'll open up which script is an easier one. We are at 32. That gives me 20 minutes. There is an employees and there is a donations, right? Oh, let's do donations then. Donations is small. No, it's not small, but anyway. Okay, so this will again go back on Blackboard. So please open up donations. We will have to do all of them. I'm just looking because the time is less. I'm just looking at the one that I'll be able to finish. So please pick up donations from your Blackboard, and I'll save it as. Okay. I want to alter the table and update data using string functions. So here again, I'm going to add some new fields and I'm going to use string functions. You just saw me concatenating the first name and the last name. Sometimes the table already has the name and I would like to break it up into first name and last name. Or it has some data that I would like to break it up into address or whatever. So that's what I'm trying to do with string functions. So we'll do a few. Again, I can't do all of them. I cannot, but I'll try my best, whatever I can do. So seems like I got lazy. My comments are missing. I have the set environment. I have the drop database. I have the drop table. I have the create table. Let's look at the create table, which is important. Forgot my unsigned. Maybe you should make this ID unsigned. If you don't touch it, if you don't do anything with it, auto increment automatically starts with 1. So you're safe. It is unsigned. But who knows? You know what I mean? Like another programmer may come and try to break your code and say, oh, they didn't put it unsigned. Let me make an ID which is negative. So you do your job and always do it right. Right? Always go up the stairs right way, not the opposite way. Okay, let's try to do this. So there is an ID, which is a primary key. Again, my aim to show the primary key in a different line is because you'll be seeing this format Friday onwards. So I am just introducing it to you. The first name is a varchar, the last name is a varchar, and the last field, which is a recipient field, is 255 varchar, and it is not null. If you look at the data, I just have three records, not a big deal at all. And I have made it messy for a reason. The first name and the last name, not so difficult to Eric Smith, Elisa Jones, and Sue Wilson. But notice the recipient, which is kind of showing you Berry, Liberal Party, Simcoe North. And again, I've put blanks everywhere just for the heck of it. I want to show you that how will trim work. Trim means removing blanks from before and after, but you can't remove blanks from between. Okay, you can't do that. Anyway, so here is the riding. Berry is the riding, the place, and Liberal Party is the name of the party. Okay, what I want to do here is I would like to break up this recipient into two fields. The riding goes into one column and the party name goes into another column. And I want to use string functions for it, right? So you already have data. I don't want to do, I have millions of records or whatever. I don't want to go and start a new table altogether. So I'll alter the structure, and then by writing code, I will pick up the field, the recipient field, and break it up, and then remove the recipient. And that's what you do. You don't want to do it physically or manually, not physically, manually. Okay, so the select statement is just select doing it. The alter statement you've seen before. I've added two new columns, riding and party, each of varchar 30. That's enough for me. The 255 was too big, but you can make it 50-50, whatever you like. Really is not a big deal. You can go 50 and 50 if you like, but it's up to you. It's not as if. I didn't add not null to it or anything yet because I'm going to populate them with data. You could add not null if you like. So just new two columns are added. I didn't give them any position. So when I run the script, they will come at the end of the table. They'll come at the end of the table. Their default value is null. So that's what will come up. And I didn't place them any position because I didn't feel the need to. If I wanted to, I could have said after. Before is not present. Before a field means after another field. There is no difference between before and after. If I say before Anju, you can say after Vivian. You know what I mean? If you're both standing together. But anyway, I didn't place them at any position. It was not required and I have it. Now my aim is this. I want to populate the two new fields with the data in the recipient. So let's look at the data. It was a varchar of 215. What is the aim? Now you can only break up something if you have to know how it is organized. If you notice, the name of the riding, Berry, and the name of the party are separated by a comma. Right? There is a comma between the two. Doesn't matter. There are blanks and so on. We are not worried about that. But there is something to separate them. If there was nothing to separate them, then I would be jigs because blank would not always work. Simcoe North has a blank, but Simcoe is not a riding and North is not a name of a party. So when you break up data, there has to be some kind of differentiating character or characters. There could be a semicolon, there could be a blank, there could be a comma, anything, but there has to be. Otherwise, how will I break it up? I have no way, right? So now what I'll do is, now the logic. There are a few ways of doing it. Now this is really easy. There are only two parts, this and this, left and right. You know what I mean? There is something on the left of the comma, there is something on the right of the comma. Or if you kind of think about it, one is on the left of the comma, one is on the right of the comma. But if I can find, my aim is what? Where is the comma? If I can find the position of the comma, anything before the comma is the riding, anything after the comma is the party name. Extra blanks I can always remove, right? So let's try to find the position of the comma. Now there are a few ways that you can do things. I'll give you a couple of solutions, but again, you can choose what you like. There are more than one ways of doing it. Okay, so my aim is anything before the comma is the riding name and anything after the comma is the party name. So a few ways of doing it. So let's update the table. Keep in mind, I want to change data, not insert new data. So I'm going to update my table. What do I want to set? I want to set the riding to something. You don't have to tab it. If you don't like it, it's up to you. And I'll set the, what was the name of the field? Party. Something. And as I said, there are more than one solutions. We'll take it one at a time. Now, my aim is if I know where the comma is in the field, I have to take something from the left of the comma and something from the right of the comma. Right? That's all I have to do. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to use a function called substring index. So what is the substring index do and what does the substring do? The substring function extracts a substring from a bigger string. So if I say, give me a substring from position 1 to 10, it will extract the first 10 characters. From 20 to 25, it will extract 20, 21, 22, 25, whatever, right? So these are string functions. So there is a substring and there is a substring index. The difference between the two. The substring index allows you to look for something. So I want to look for a comma. I don't know how many to extract. I cannot use a substring because I don't know how many to extract. Berry is 5 characters. Simcoe North is not 5. You know what I mean? I don't know how many, but I know that there is a comma. So I'm going to use the substring index function. And again, nobody knows what it does till, of course, you use it, right? So I'm going to use this function on which field? On the recipient field. And again, of course, it's not, I know it all. It's absolutely not. So you know what? The easy way would be to use the substring just because I know its name. And again, the substring index and all these are very common functions in all languages. It's easy for me to look up. Okay, so let's go to the manual. And again, there are so many. I just chose the one that I knew of. Okay, what does it say? It says it has 3 parameters. String, the string which you want to work with. Delimiter, what is delimiting them? What is separating them? What are you looking for? I'm looking for comma. And the count, okay? It says returns the substring from the string str before count occurrences of the delimiter delimit. So it says, okay, how many do you want before the comma and how many do you want after the comma? But what does count do? If count is positive, everything to the left of the delimiter is returned. If the count is negative, everything to the right of the delimiter is given to you. So left of the comma, right of the comma. How many to the left of the comma? 1 position to the left. How many to the right of the comma? 1 position to the right. You could go 2 positions left, 2 positions right, 3 positions left, 3 positions right. You can do anything. Okay. Now let's see how to do this. And there's a dot one here. I want to use a comma. And I've used, see, look at the example. www.mysql.com. In this, I want to look for dot. The delimiter is dot. And what does to say? To says to go from the, give me the first 2 till the dot. So www first dot, MSQL second dot. So it will give you the first 2 from the left. What does -2 do? It will give you mysql.com because you're going from the right. So for the left, go from the positive, from the right, use a negative. 1 will give you only 1, 2 will give you the 2, and so on. I only need 1. Okay, so let's try it. So now that we know the function, what are we looking for? I want to go to this field. What are you looking for? Comma, that's my delimiter. And 1 from the left. Right? And what's my, oh, sorry, wrong one. Writing was on the left. It's not a big deal. One is a negative, one is a positive. Okay, so the substring function, give me 1 from the left. From the left of the comma, give me 1. Remember your normal comma in the set statement and your semicolon. And here we'll say from the right, -1. I've used a 1 and a -1 because I only want 1 piece of data. If you wanted 2, you would go 2 and -2. So 1 from the left, -1 from the right. Minus is from the right, 1 from the left. Let's look at what the answer will be. There are many. I mean, I'm just showing you. I will show you as much as I can. Okay, now you have updated the table, and then we'll see if things are coming into this table. So you can always do a describe before and a select before, and you can always do a describe before and a select afterwards, if required. And once you have done this, we will delete the column because I don't need the recipient anymore. But let's try it. Let's see what is happening. Oh, error. Unknown column recipient. Spelling is wrong. Recipient. Oops. Spelling is wrong. It said unknown column. Control S. There. Berry went into riding and Liberal Party went into party. Simcoe North went into riding and Conservative Party into the. Do you notice something? All blanks have been retained. Like the Liberal Party has some blanks before it, some blanks after it. Berry has some blanks before it, some after. Extra blanks. Right? All you have to do is neaten it. And it's not so tough to neatening it up. All you have to do is trim it. Use the trim function, right? Use the trim function. And okay, now let's see what trim does. I think it removes all blanks. I'm almost positive. But it only removes blanks from front and back. Okay, that's all it does. Can't remove the blanks from middle. You cannot. Trimming is trim, like the English word trim. So try this now. And let's try it again. Neater? That's what trim does. I could have trimmed it before using it. I could have trimmed the recipient here. I could have done that. Instead of trimming it afterwards, I could have trimmed the recipient and then used it, which is also fine. Right? So here you are now actually what is going into writing. You have trimmed it and you've put it. This is in your table. Keep in mind, you have made a change to the table. Update the table. You have updated the records. Now, when your job is done, what should you be doing? You've taken care. Now you can delete which column? The writing column. Oh, sorry. The recipient column can be deleted. Remember how we deleted? Alter table. What was the name of the table? Table donations. This is one way, okay? And then remember your delete. Oh, sorry. The word column is not required and most of you know it. This is just my habit. It still doesn't like it. Oh, was it drop column? I forget. Add, modify, change, drop. Yeah, it is drop column. Okay, my bad. Why will I need that column once I've used it? You know what I mean? Now once you recipient, oh God, ENT, there it is. So the column is being dropped because I don't need it now. So that's one way of doing it. Not so tough, but you've seen a function. Sometimes if you only want to find out the position where the comma is occurring, even that is possible. You say, where is the comma? First position, second, third, fourth, fifth, even you can do that. Sometimes you only want to find the position of it. Even you can do that. I'll show you how to do that. But this is the easiest one to use. Just because there's not much. There are only two parts. One before the comma, one after the comma. I could have more. I could have a full address. 1 Georgian Drive, comma. 1 comma, Georgian Drive, comma. Berry, comma. Ontario, comma. Canada. I could have so many commas. Then there are different ways of doing it. This is a simple example. But the aim is to introduce you to functions. So done? One way is done. There are only 3 minutes, so I won't start the next way. But there are functions like left, right, mid, in string, and so on that I would like to introduce you to. So next week when we come, we'll start from here. Right? We'll start from here. We'll complete this. And then I'll shift to whatever I want to do. And all this, I'll paste it on your blackboard. So cookie sales have already gone. Donations we are still working on. Grade center I'll put up. So grade center on blackboard, there it is. And this is not yet complete, but we will complete it next week. And the aim is not to confuse you guys. The aim is to show you that they are available. And at the end of the day, maybe an assignment or an exam is asking you for something that I haven't even done in class. All you do is you go and look it up. Donations classwork. Okay, so I'll do a little more, a couple of more string functions. There's no end to it. There's absolutely no end to it. And if you kind of want to see what they are, you go here and you type in string functions and you'll get a long list of string functions. All you do is go string functions. In MySQL, for example. And there they are. See? It is a long list. And again, I can't use all of them, but some are easy. Upper, lower, changing everything to upper, changing everything to lower. Those are easy. Left, something from the left, something from the right, something from the mid. They're easy too. But again, easy or tough, whatever it is, you may have to do. I'll do a few and then you may be asked something that you haven't even seen in your life. So that's okay. Okay, everything is on Blackboard, guys. We'll continue working on this next week and hopefully you can do an in-class assignment, or if the time does not permit for it, then I'll just let you take it home. Okay, just because we missed a Monday, I'm kind of That's what has stopped me, because the next big topic is joins. Joins is a big, complicated, not complicated, tougher topic. I won't scare you. And I want to give it 3 weeks at least. And we don't have much time left.
Start.